Live from the Nation Center, this is NTV At One. My name is Ken Mijungu. We're also live from Parliament and also live from Mombasa. But first, the senators are this afternoon giving a statement on the ongoing stalemate over the division of revenue bill, and they are now speaking. Let's listen in.
Account the recommendations of the Commission on Revenue Allocation, amongst other submissions, passed the bill with amendments to reflect the Kenya shillings 335.7 billion as the allocation to the county governments. As you will recall, the National Assembly rejected the amendments of the Senate, and the bill proceeded to mediation pursuant to Article 113 of the Constitution of Kenya. The mediation process collapsed. This led the Senate to publish a fresh bill, the Division of Revenue Bill, Senate Bills number 13 of 2019, providing for the amount of Kenya shillings 335.67 billion as the share for the county governments. The Senate passed the bill and referred it to the National Assembly for concurrence. For the record, the National Assembly, having introduced the bill in the Assembly in a process unknown to the practices and procedures of our Parliament and comparative jurisdictions, withdrew the bill and did not consider it further. In response to the publication of the Senate of the Senate of the Division of Revenue Bill, Senate Bills number 13 of 2019, providing for the amount of Kenya shillings 335.67 billion for the counties, the National Assembly published and passed the Division of Revenue number 2 Bill 2019 that set the equitable share of revenue for the county government at Kenya shillings 316.5 billion. This bill was referred to the Senate, which proceeded to amend the bill by A, increasing the equitable share to county governments from 316.5 billion to Kenya shillings 335.6 billion. B, withdrawal of financing for the leasing of medical equipment, and C, the inclusion of an additional conditional allocation from development partners at the request of the National Treasury. The National Assembly rejected the amendments of the Senate, and the bill was referred to a mediation committee. The ongoing mediation process is therefore the second attempt in this financial year at resolving the impasse between the houses on the enactment of the Division of Revenue Bill. The main contention between the two houses is the county equitable share allocation for the financial year 2019-2020. The position of the Senate is that the allocation to the county governments should be determined by increasing the previous year's equitable share, which was Kenya shillings 314 billion, by 6.9%, which is the 3-year average inflation. The Senate has consistently championed the determination of the allocation of revenue to the two levels of government based on the recommendations of the Commission of Revenue Allocation and specific economic parameters which may vary from year to year. On the other hand, the National Assembly has consistently proposed allocations that do not take into account accepted economic parameters and that disregard the recommendations of the Commission on Revenue Allocation. As a result, based on the National Assembly's proposals, while the national government would enjoy a whopping 13.98% increase in the allocation of revenue in the financial year 2019-2020, the county government's percentage increase would be a mere 0.79%. The impasse on the Division of Revenue Bill 2019 has not happened in a lacuna. Article 218, Subarticle 1, Paragraph A of the Constitution provides that the Division of Revenue Bill shall divide revenue raised by the national government among the national and county levels of government in accordance with the Constitution. Article 224 of the Constitution provides that, and I quote, on the basis of the Division of Revenue Bill approved by Parliament under Article 218, each county government shall prepare and adopt its own annual budget and appropriation bill in the form and according to the procedure prescribed by an Act of Parliament. As a consequence of not passing the Division of Revenue Bill and the County Allocation of Revenue Bill before the beginning of this financial year, the county governments have been precluded from conclusively preparing their own annual budgets and appropriation bills. This not only contravenes the provisions of Article 213, Subarticle 1, Paragraph J of the Constitution, which requires stable and predictable allocations of revenue to counties, but on a more fundamental level, has also prejudiced the delivery of vital services by county governments. It is now well settled that a definitive feature of the transformative nature of the 2010 Constitution is the introduction of a devolved system of government that guarantees the people of Kenya the right to manage their own affairs and to ensure proximate and accessible services throughout Kenya. The precarious situation that the country finds themselves in is not only prejudicial to the delivery of public services, but also erodes the constitutional imperative for equitable development. As you're aware, while the Division of Revenue Bill forms the basis upon which the two levels of government prepare legal instruments for public expenditure, the National Assembly proceeded to publish, consider, and pass an Appropriation Act setting out the expenditure for national government. Therefore, while the appropriation of counties are likely to grind to a halt sooner rather than later, the national government has continued to operate unfettered. It is the position of the Senate that it is a flagrant violation of the Constitution for the National Assembly and the national government to proceed unilaterally to determine the allocation to the national government independent of the enactment of a Division of Revenue Act. By passing the Appropriation Act 2019, the National Assembly, in effect, unlawfully and unconstitutionally allocated to the national government a share of revenue raised nationally without a determination of what that share should be, and without an attendant allocation to the counties. And this is an important constitutional question which the country must resolve. This is a mischief that the Senate refuses to accept. In discharging its role as the protector of the interests of counties, the Senate filed High Court Petition number 218 of 2019, in which the Senate seeks to challenge the constitutionality of various laws, among them the Appropriations Act 2019. And I'll yield to the majority leader.
Thank you. I'll proceed from there. The same tone.
The same tone.
Yes.
The Senate has been unwavering in its position that pursuant to Article 202(1) of the Constitution, revenue raised nationally must be shared equitably among the two levels of government. The county's share of this revenue is a constitutional right and not an act of magnanimity on the part of the national government or the National Assembly or any other person or entity. Indeed, it is Parliament which raises and allocates money between national government and counties. The duty to ensure that counties receive their share nationally raised revenue was settled in the Supreme Court Advisory Opinion number 2 of 2013. It is therefore unfortunate that we still find ourselves in a position where we have to reiterate this very basic constitutional principle. It must be remembered that without the Senate going to the Supreme Court in 2013, we would not have been in the position to negotiate for the resources of the counties. So that victory of 2013 is part of the process that has led to the Senate performing this very important duty. The Senate must express its disappointment at the manner in which the National Assembly has handled this matter. The National Assembly has, throughout this process, arrogated to itself the role of the defender and protector of the position of interest of national government without any regard to the county governments. While the Constitution contemplates that the mediation process shall be a negotiation undertaken in utmost good faith and with patriotism and fidelity to the public interest, the National Assembly's conduct in this process has been evidenced by the nation at large, has been aggressive, combative, insensitive, and even reckless. The country has been treated to unprecedented display of brinkmanship that is oblivious to the existential threat that the division of revenue poses to the counties and to the system of devolved government as a whole. In virtually all bicameral systems, the second chamber is deliberately designed to be more circumspect, reflective, temperate, and sober House of Parliament. It is for good reason. It is for times such as this. The other House has demonstrated that it is unconcerned whether this impasse persists indefinitely. It is unconcerned whether the counties grind to a halt. It is the ultimate irony that it is no bother of the National Assembly if the people of Kenya are denied basic services at the counties so long as the national government is adequately resourced. The Senate, by its design, composition, and role, cannot be complicit in such a project. As we have shown, the process of passing the Division of Revenue Bill 2019 has been odious, and the Senate is cognizant that we are fast approaching the end of the first quarter of the financial year, and counties are yet to receive their share of national raised revenue. The country is faced with the real prospect of shutdown of service at the counties. This would have a disastrous effect on critical sectors such as agriculture and health. For this reason, and for reasons we have explained, the Senate, following a meeting held today, 5th September 2019, has made the painful but patriotic decision to advise our negotiators at the ongoing mediation process to agree to the allocation of the 316.5 billion as the equitable share of the nationally raised revenue to be allocated to the counties. This has been a difficult decision for the Senate, but the Senate has been faced with a situation where it has to rise to the calling and put the overall national interest above short-term partisan considerations. We take solace in the fact that sometimes to win the war, one must be prepared to yield some battles. We recognize that despite the many setbacks we have faced, the Senate has been able to enhance the allocation of county governments by 6.5 billion from the Kenya shillings 310 billion in the first published bill by the National Assembly to the current 316.5 billion. It is not enough, but it is progress, and the Senate will live to fight another day. The Senate will not allow the entire system of devolved government, that is the basic pillar of our Constitution, to be brought down by schemes such as this. Accordingly, we will advise the senators representing the Senate in the ongoing mediation process to urgently meet their counterparts in the National Assembly in order to immediately conclude this matter. The decision taken by the Senate is without prejudice to its position in High Court petition number 284 of 2019, which suit we will continue to pursue as the petition seeks a determination on the constitutionality of the Appropriation Act 2019 rather than the quantum of the monies to be allocated to the two levels of government. It is similarly without prejudice to any other matter in court in which the Senate is partly and in which similar issues are in contention. On this, we remain steadfast. In fact, we want to insist that in 2013, just for the sake of the Republic and the people of Kenya, in 2013, we continued to pursue the question as to whether a division of revenue can be discussed by Senate or not, despite the fact that our division of revenue had already been passed by National Assembly alone, signed by the President, and was being implemented. Eventually, by the decision of the Supreme Court in the subsequent financial year, it became mandatory for the Senate now to work on the division of revenue bill. In the same manner, even though we concede to the amount that are in this, is 316.5, it is not without it is without prejudice, because we will continue to pursue the position that there cannot be a legal appropriation bill being passed by one house before a division of revenue bill is passed. That position will be canvassed in court, and I believe eventually in the financial year 2020-2021, we shall now be having the correct position of the, as enunciated by the Constitution, that appropriation bills, both at the national and county level, will wait for the division of revenue bill. The protracted division of revenue process that the country has witnessed has fortunately come at a time when the country is in the throes of robust constitutional reform discourse. The current impasse should serve as an ample testimony for the need for a constitutional amendment to rank and high in its agenda a guarantee of adequate resources for county governments, free from the prospects of bullying, intimidation, and blackmail that has characterized this process. It is probably also ample testimony for the need for such constitutional reform to carefully consider a redesign of the composition and roles of National Assembly that will ensure that the House at all times serves the national interest. In conclusion, the Senate commends the Senate Committee of Finance and Budget and the senators who served on both Mediation Committee on the Division of Revenue Bill for their resolve and commitment to the principle of devolution and the national interest. Kwa ufupi, tunataka kusema ya kwamba sisi kama seneti tumejipata katika ile hali ya kwamba wale ndugu zetu wa National Assembly hawana haja na ile shida wananchi wanapitia katika serikali za counties. Na ninangependa kushukuru seneti, kamati ya finance, kamati pia ile yenye ilikuwa ya mediation, kwa sababu kwa kupigania haki za counties tumeweza kuongeza zile hela zinaenda counties kwa bilioni 6.5, 6.5 billion, kutoka ile 310 ambayo ilipitishwa na ikasainiwa na rais, na sasa tuko tayari kupitisha 316.5 ambayo itaongezea pesa county 6.5 billion. Ilikuwa ni nia yetu iongezwe mpaka 335 billion shillings, lakini kama vile Wakenya wameona ndugu zetu katika National Assembly hawana haja, hawana nia, hawashughulikii, hawana ile roho ya kuhakikisha kwamba mambo ya afya, mambo ya ukulima na shida ya mwananchi katika mashinani imeshughulikiwa. Kwa sababu hiyo tumekubaliana na ile fika ya 316.5 kama seneti, lakini tutaendelea tutapambana kwa kotini kuhakikisha ya kwamba ile appropriation bill ya national government ya kugawa pesa kwa taifa na national government budget mwaka ujao hakutawezekana tena kwamba counties watakuwa wanaumia kwa pesa zinazoenda kwa counties, ili hali national government napitisha bajeti kwa pesa ambayo sio yao. Ya mwisho, tumesema kama seneti kwa hii statement yetu ya kwamba pesa ambazo zinaenda counties government sio msaada, sio sadaka, sio ati umepeanwa na mtu fulani kwa county government, ni pesa za mwananchi wa taifa la Kenya ambazo zinagawiwa kupitia kikatiba na bunge. Na kuenda mbele huko, hatutaki kuona kwamba ati counties watakuwa wanaambiwa ya kwamba eti nyinyi mtapata hii ama mtapata hile, msaada tumewasaidia hii, tumewasaidia ile. Hiyo lazima ikome. Na tunaamini ya kwamba counties watafanya kotini itafanya haraka kuhakikisha kwamba this issue has been resolved. We actually want to say that unfortunately, even though we are in the process on court, we feel and it's unfortunate that justice delayed is justice denied. But we will be patient to ensure that next year, Division of Revenue Bill will be preceded by the appropriation bill. Kwa hayo na mengi, Mungu awabariki na asanteni sana. Hatutachukua maswali leo. Hiyo ilikuwa ni statement ya Senate na masenators hawatakuwa.
Right, at least the white smoke or light at the end of the tunnel as Senate agrees to take the 316.5 billion shillings given by the national government or stated by the president about a fortnight ago that that's the money that is available, and they have agreed. And tomorrow, incidentally, was the last day of hope for the governors because they said if tomorrow passes without getting a solution, they will definitely not be contributed to the counties as agreed. Now that impasse has been broken. All right, let's move on right now and talk about what's happening in the Mau and Mike.
Well, we didn't hear it from just one party, although the Environment CS Keriako Tobiko did deny those reports, but we spoke to several residents, including one standing next to me. This is Albertine Koech. Albertine, if you can move a bit closer to me. So when we encountered the Kenya Forest Service officers yesterday, they were coming out of her homestead where we are present.
Well, we have to get Olive Barrows back with her green umbrella. She has to speak to us. And it's important that we hear the stories from the residents of Mau. But as we try to sort out that, let's talk about what happened just closer here. A senior police officer was last night shot dead by his colleagues in Riruta. That's right here in Nairobi. The deceased is the deputy OCS of Riruta Police Station. Benson Indeche is the name. He was believed to be drunk at the time and accused of harassing and threatening the border operators with his pistol in Kawangware. Now, police officers nearby were informed of the commotion and a fire exchange ensued between them and the inspector. He was shot 5 times and thereafter rushed to the Nairobi Women's Hospital on Ngong Road, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. One of the police officers involved in the scuffle was also injured and is receiving treatment at the same hospital. It's unfortunate. The question is, they didn't know he's part of them, but again, there are those claims. Now, some three members of a village in Tongaren, that's in Bungoma County, have died after consuming what authorities say is herbal concoction. Now, that concoction is said to have been administered to 8 villages by self-proclaimed herbalists in the area. One of the victims is said to have been convinced to take the concoction since it would cure her ulcers. Witnesses say 3 died while undergoing treatment in Kiminini and Kitale. 2 others have been admitted at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital in critical condition, while 1 is at the facility's intensive care unit. The said herbalist has since gone into hiding and the villagers are now demanding for his arrest.
My mom has been there for us. She has been taking care of us and she has left. So far we are pure orphans.
Huyu mama kifo chake kimetokana kwa sababu ya dawa za kienyeji ambazo kuna tapeli alitokea na dawa za kienyeji akidanganya watu wanaponya magonjwa mengi kama ukimwi, kifua, ulcers, cancer.
All right, let's cross the border. And Kenyan nationals living in South Africa are calling on their host government to compensate them for the losses they have incurred in recent spate of xenophobic attacks. While South African authorities have announced calm in most parts of the country, calls for tolerance continue to be sent out.
The latest wave of violence against foreigners in South Africa has affected a number of Kenyans, with the Kenyan High Commission confirming that 2 Kenyans had their business destroyed and property worth millions of shillings looted.
But what has happened? We have looted everything that we have.
Those who lost their livelihood relived the nightmare of the attacks. The affected claim that it took hours for South African authorities to reach out to them, even as looting continued after the initial attacks broke out earlier in the week.
The government must show up that they are really with us. So they must come and see the mess that is around here.
The Association of Kenyans Living in South Africa has told the Nation Media Group that they are seeking compensation for those who lost property. The Kenyan government has stated that it is monitoring the events in South Africa and has advised its citizens living there to cooperate with the authorities. Back home, Kenyans have appealed for peace across the continent after revenge attacks in Nigeria forced South African firms based in Lagos to close some of its outlets.
Black fighting black, black fighting white, just because they belong to this nation or another. We are working into a situation where we don't have any boundaries in the world.
The attacks that have grown over time are driven by youth who decry joblessness, venting their frustrations on foreigners, mostly employed in informal jobs or running their own businesses. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
Right. The family and friends of the late Sharon Otieno, the Rongo University student brutally murdered, held a commemoration service demanding for justice to prevail and her killers to be brought to book. Now, this comes 1 year after her death, that was followed by a high-profile murder case that implicated Migori Governor Zachary Kothobado. The governor was released on a 5 million shilling bail. 2 of his aides, that's Michael Oyamo and Caspar Biero, are still being held in connection with the murder. Sharon left behind 3 children, according to the family. Promises from the political class to support the children have not been met.
We would want these girls to be assisted. We have so many organizations. They came here, but we have not seen much. So we want these girls to be taken care of, the children, so that they should not suffer.
She was the one who was to be a pillar in this family. So I did not get the fruits that I planted.
It's my belief that justice shall be found on the death of Sharon and the late boy of Sharon, baby Sharon.
Time really flies. It's just the other day that the whole country was talking about this. Now, moving on, employees working at Transfleet Company, that's formerly Mugoya, have donned their tools following unpaid salaries. The workers based in Athi River said that they had not been paid for 2 months. They have vowed to stay away from work until their employer, that's James Isabiri, pays their dues. Now, the Secretary General of the Kenya Quarry and Mine Workers Union, Wafula Wamsamia, has also accused the employer of failing to pay the union fees for a year.
Tumeamua sasa tunataka kuenda kusema contempt of court ili ashikwe, aletwe hapa, aonyeshwe kwa nini hataki kulipa wafanyikazi haki zao. Pesa ya union amekata watu kwa muda wa miezi 9, hajatulipa hata ndururu, lakini amewakata, lakini sisi hatujalipwa for 9 months.
Now, they are not the only ones, because workers of Polypipes, a company that manufactures pipes in Limuru, that's in Kiambu County, have also donned their tools to protest unpaid dues, and theirs is 8 months. Now, the workers also accused the company of mistreatment. They also claimed that the company shut down its operations without their knowledge. The workers are appealing to workers' union in the country to come to their aid. All right, I'm just receiving a message here from one of the lawyers handling the case of Sharon, and he says that that's clear from better that all those accused persons are actually out of bail, because we mentioned Caspar Lobiero and the other aide for the governor are still in custody, so they are all out of bail, according to one of their lawyers, Cliff Ombeta. Moving on, members of the Isiolo County Assembly and residents have accused GSU officers of assaulting 5 herders from the neighboring Kina ward. The MCAs also claimed that the officers attached to the Kanisa camp in Igembe North constituency, Meru County, made away with at least 100 goats.
The pastoralist community living in Isiolo have expressed their disappointment and shock after GSU officers allegedly attacked a group of herders. They claim that 4 men and 1 woman were assaulted and later arrested as the officers tracked down stolen goats.
We cannot take it that one lightly because it has been, this is now the 4th time and we cannot condemn it.
This is a very notorious station. It's based there purposely to harass our people. This is not the first time that they have done it. They did it before, and I'm sure they're going to do more.
The MCAs claim that the community at large has been sidelined in security matters, and they have also accused the security agencies of branding the entire community as criminals.
Every time something happens, a communal punishment is done on my people. We are in Kenya. A son cannot bear liability, criminal liability for his father.
The community is now calling on the security officers to embrace the pastoral way of resolving conflicts. Nayoma Sampao, NTV.
And away from that, Thika residents are calling upon the Ministry for Lands to establish an office in that area to enable them sort out pressing land issues. Now, the residents, most of them elderly, are accusing middlemen of taking advantage of them. They claim that cases of land grabbing has gone up, especially now that the roads have been tarmacked. They hope that a lands office closer to them will prevent and reduce land grabbing. They are currently served from the lands office that is located in Kiambu town.
Na hapa serikali ikikumbali itufungulie clinic hapa Thika, tunaweza furahi, shauri watu yote tafaidika.
Labda mimi nasikia watu 2-3 makisema manakuto na wengine huko kwa saba, akaambiwa hii saba ni yangu. Hapa hakuna mabatizo, shauri ya kila mtu ulikuwa anakuwa kwa hii record, wote manapata title.
Across the borders now, and Pope Francis will meet with Mozambican political and civil leaders to encourage them to consolidate a fragile peace accord. Now, the Pope's 3-day visit to Mozambique comes a month after the government signed a historic peace treaty with the former rebel group Romano, which is now the main opposition party in Mozambique.
Airport last night, where he received a warm traditional African welcome. The pontiff was received at the airport by President Felipe Nyusi, as well as a congregation of national clergymen. His visit to Mozambique will be the first of a 3-day-long tour of Indian Ocean African countries.
I'm so emotional that I've seen Pope Francis. I can't even describe it.
On Friday, the Pope will address a mass at the giant Sempeto Stadium in the seaside capital of Maputo. He is also expected to address the issue of climate change, as Mozambique is still reeling from the effects of 2 back-to-back natural disasters, as well as Islamic extremism, which has claimed more than 300 lives in the last 2 years.
I invite you all to join my prayers so that God, Father of all, strengthens reconciliation, fraternal reconciliation in Mozambique and Africa, the only hope for a strong and lasting peace.
The Supreme Pontiff will wrap up his tour in Madagascar and Mauritius.
All right, let's take you to China. And biotechnology farm in China has successfully produced China's first cloned kitten born on July 21st. The new fully or fluffy and powering garlic was created by Beijing-based farm Xenophobic. Now, the pet cloning company has made more than 40 pet dogs, a procedure that cost a hefty $53,000. That's about 5.3 million shillings, while the price for a cat comes in at $35,000. A cat for 3.5 million shillings. Come for one from our home, by the way. Now, garlic owners were overjoyed on first seeing his second incarnation, saying that the similarity between the two cats was more than 90%. With a growing pet market in China and a huge appetite among their owners for spending, the company still thinks that the market for pet cloning is also set to rocket. Xenophobic says the next animals on the list for clone testing is Chinese favorite, and that's the panda. And I'm serious, come for a cat from our home. Sean, at 3.5 million shillings for a cat, you need to come for two from our home at 1 million shillings. Time now to play, and Sean Cadavelis is here. Sean?
No cloning here. By the way, a happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
From all of us here at NTV. All right, let's talk rugby. The Kenyan Lionesses will face either Colombia or Brazil, and that's in the Rugby World Cup qualifier after finishing second in the Africa qualifiers. The dates for the match are yet to be announced by World Rugby. The winner of the match will head to the repechage, where they will meet the winners of the other continents. Kenya finished second at the last month's Africa Rugby World Cup qualifiers, where they beat Uganda and Madagascar 37 points to 5 and 37-5 respectively, before losing to host South Africa 39-0 in the final. Kenya Lionesses coach Felix Olo said the team needs 2 to 3 build-up matches, preferably against European opposition, if they are to qualify for the Rugby World Cup in New Zealand in 2021. Athletics Kenya will hold trials for the World Athletics Championships that will take place on the 12th and 13th of September, and that's at the Nyayo National Stadium, as they seek to make up a strong team for the World Championships in Doha, Qatar, later in the month. 2 categories of athletes have been invited for the trials, with the first including athletes who must compete in the trials, with the top 3 positions making the cut, having made the qualifying standard time set by the IAAF. They must also fulfill the Athletics Integrity Unit, that's the AIU, anti-doping requirements. The second category has athletes who have attained the top 8 fastest times in the season and have not qualified for the World Championships. This will give athletes a chance to qualify for the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games, since the qualifying periods were set between May 2019 and June 2020. The deadline, by the way, for qualifying for the World Championships is the 6th of September. In tennis, Rafael Nadal remains a favorite to win the